I know what you're thinking.
Ticks are little bugs, RB. They're not gonna hurt me. My dog got ticks. My cat got ticks.
First off, get your pets checked out. Second, you wrong. Kinda. Yes, they're little, but they're not technically bugs. They're dealers of biological warfare. And you should be afraid. To understand why, first, let's begin with the what. Found throughout the world, but especially in warm, humid climates, ticks are some of the toughest creatures to ever exist on Earth. Though only growing 3 to 5 millimeters in length, these creatures, part of the mite superorder Parasitiformes, have a fossil record dating back to the Cretaceous period, over 100 million years ago. They can survive in a near vacuum for up to half an hour, have the ability to go without nourishment for up to 18 weeks, and can even live in temperatures below 0 degrees Celsius for over 2 weeks. Classified as parasitic arachnids, which is the group containing spiders and scorpions, ticks are big Dracula fans. And by that, I mean they want to suck your blood. Yours and every other mammal, bird, reptile, and amphibian in the vicinity. There are two major families of ticks in existence today, the Ixodidae and Argecidae. Ixodidae, or hard ticks, are known for their hard protective body armor, and Argecidae, or soft ticks, lack this biological shield. There are over 700 known species of Ixodidae in comparison to the 200 known of Argecidae. There is also a third family, Nutelalidae, though only one species of this most primitive lineage exists today. Ticks go through 4 stages in their life cycle, the first of which is common with many animals, the egg. Once hatched, the baby tick, known as a larval tick, begins crawling around on 6 legs. Only after consuming blood can it molt into the 8-legged nymph stage, and then finally adult. There are 2 main anatomical parts to an adult tick, a retractable head containing its mouth parts, and body containing 8 legs, a digestive tract, and reproductive organs. The legs usually contain tactile hairs and a unique sensory structure called Haller's organ, which can detect odors, chemicals, and infrared light emanating from other animals, as well as changes in temperature and air currents. Ticks use these abilities to locate a host animal, and once securely grasping the host's skin, proceed to use their complex mouth parts to cut into the epidermis and suck blood out. Depending on the species and life stage, preparing to feed can take anywhere from 10 minutes to 2 hours. Excreting an anticoagulant to prevent the blood from clotting, the tick inserts a rod-like organ, known as a hypostome, into its victim, and consumes blood until its body is entirely engorged. As horrifying as this sounds, the real problem is not with what ticks take, or how they do so. Rather, it's what it may give you. Ticks act as vectors of many serious diseases that affect many species, including humans. A tick can also harbor more than one type of pathogen, making a diagnosis much more difficult. And as warming temperatures allow tick populations to spread into new areas, the occurrence of tick-borne illnesses continue to rise. Okay, now jumping into the list of diseases here, and I don't have a script, so bear with me. We're gonna start it off with bacterial diseases, and at the top of our list here is Lyme disease. Now, all of these bacterial diseases are, as you might have guessed, contracted via bacteria, and the organism of question in this particular case of Lyme disease would be Borrelia burgdorferi sensu lato. At least 15 species of ticks in the genus Ixodus, including the deer tick, are known to transmit this disease, and it's endemic to the Americas and Eurasia. Symptoms include fever, arthritis, neuroborreliosis, rashes, cranial nerve palsy, carditis, fatigue, and influenza-like illness. However, there is a treatment, and a doctor can prescribe you antibiotics. The next bacterial disease we're going to cover is called relapsing fever, and the organism which it transmits via is Borrelia species such as B. hermsii, B. parkeri, B. dutani, and B. miyamotoi. The tick species in which you can get this disease through is the Ornithodorus species, and just based on the name what I said, I think it might have something to do with birds. This primarily exists in Africa, Spain, Saudi Arabia, Asia, and certain areas of Canada and the western United States. Symptoms include recurring high fevers, flu-like symptoms, headaches, and muscular pain, with less common symptoms including rigors, joint pain I should say, altered mentation, cough, sore throat, painful urination, and a rash. Once again, however, there are treatments available, and a doctor will prescribe you antibiotics such as doxycycline, tetracycline, and erythromycin. Another bacterial disease is known as Rocky Mountain Spotted Fever, and it's transmitted via the organism Rickettsia rickettsii. The vector is the wood tick, and it's predominant within the United States, in the eastern and southwest United States. And symptoms include fever, headache, altered mentation status, or altered mental status, muscle pains, and rash. The treatment here would be another antibiotic therapy, which once again typically consists of doxycycline or tetracycline. Another bacterial disease that is a serious concern is the Helvetica spotted fever, and this is transmitted via the organism Rickettsia helvetica, I guess hence the name. This occurs predominantly within Sweden, Switzerland, France, and Laos, and the tick culprit would be Ixodes ricinus. Symptoms of this include small red spots, and other symptoms are fever, muscle pain, headache, and respiratory problems. The most frequently prescribed treatment is broad spectrum antibiotic therapy, which, if I were to hazard a guess, would just be a wide variety of different antibiotics. Continuing on with bacterial diseases, we have human granulocytic anaplasmosis, HGA. The organism here would be Anaplasma phagocytophyllum, and the vector would be the lone star tick, Amblyoma americanum, or I. scapularis. The regions where it predominantly occurs is the southern Atlantic and south central, and symptoms include a fever, severe headache, muscle aches, chills, nausea, unintentional weight loss, abdominal pain, cough, diarrhea, sensitivity to light, and weakness. But the treatment they would prescribe typically is doxycycline. So doxycycline seems to be, or all these cycline medications seem to be pretty predominant when dealing with a tick-related bacterial disease. There's also tularemia, which is Franicella tularensis, and Americanum, like what? Oh, the tick that transmit this disease is D. variabilis and D. andersoni. It predominantly occurs in the southeastern, south central, and western United States, and symptoms include fever, skin ulcers, and enlarged lymph nodes. The treatment here would be streptomycin or gentamicin. Personal opinion, it doesn't sound fun. I wouldn't want to get any of them. But we're not done. No, we're not done, not at all. Next up, we have the viral diseases, and these are diseases that would be transmitted via viruses. The first of which is tick-borne meningoencephalitis, which is transmitted via the TBEV virus, which is a type of flavivirus. The vector in question here would be a deer tick, and it's endemic to Europe and Northern Asia. Notice we have deer tick in both this one and one of the previous ones I mentioned, and then tying that all back together to how a single tick can transmit more than one disease, which makes diagnosis really hard. Like, imagine getting one bite and now you got 3 or 4 diseases just running around your body. It's not a fun way to live. Anyway, the symptoms of this tick-borne tick-borne meningoencephalitis is fever, malaise, headache, nausea, vomiting, and eventually it leads to meningitis, encephalitis, or meningoencephalitis. Catch 'em all, Pokemon. The treatment for this is nothing. There's no specific antiviral treatment, and symptomatic brain damage requires hospitalization and supportive care based on syndrome severity. Tracheal incubation and respiratory support may be necessary. Oh, this one's serious. There is also the Protozoan virus, and the Protozoan virus is also transmitted via a flavivirus, with the tick vector itself being Ixodes cookie. Ooh. I wonder who named the tick cookie. I'm sure I might be pronouncing it wrong, but still, it's like Cookei. Moving on, and there's a couple others as well, like Scapularis, Marxi, Dermacentor, Andersoni, D. variabilis. This one's endemic to North America and Eastern Russia, and symptoms can include encephalitis, which is an infection of the brain. There are currently no medications or approved vaccines to treat or prevent this. Next, we got the Colorado tick fever, and this is a type of colti virus, with the tick vector being Dermacentor andersoni. This primarily occurs in western United States, and symptoms include biphasic fevers, chills, headaches, light sensitivity, muscle pain, nausea, and rashes. Once again, there's no specific treatment available. So, definitely seems like human beings haven't been able to successfully find as many cures for these viral diseases compared to the bacterial diseases. Anyway, moving on, we got the Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever, which is a type of norovirus, and the tick vector in question here is Hyeloma marginatum and Rhipicephalus bursa. The region is Southern Asia, North Africa, Southern Europe, and symptoms include fever, muscle pain, headaches, vomiting, diarrhea, bleeding into the skin. Oh, that one does not sound fun. None of them sound fun, but that one sounds especially not fun. There is a treatment though. They give you ribavirin. Next, we move on to the Protozoan virus or Protozoan diseases. And without sounding too much like your grade 10 science teacher, protozoas are neither bacteria nor viruses. They're like a whole different type of single cell organism. They may not be single cell, but they are definitely an organism. And feel free to look up and correct me if they're not single celled. But anyway, in this list we have babesiosis. It's transmitted via the Babesia microti and Theileria equi protozoa, I assume. And the tick vector here are once again the deer ticks and western black-legged ticks. It occurs primarily in the northeastern and west coast of the United States, and symptoms include fever, chills, a headache, and fatigue. The treatment is a combination of atovaquone and azithromycin. There is also cytozoonosis. And don't pay too much attention to this one unless you own a cat, because this one doesn't really affect humans. But if you own a cat, you might want to be aware about this, so I'm going to run through it anyway. The vector here is the Lone Star tick. The protozoa causing this issue would be Cytozoon felis. So you have the name felis in the organism itself, so you already know it's already just cats. This occurs primarily in the southern and southeastern United States, with symptoms being a high fever, lethargy, lack of appetite, jaundice, enlarged liver, and death is common. But remember, this is just for cats. There is no transmission risk to humans. And the treatment here is anti-malarial drug atovaquone and an antibiotic azithromycin. Now on to the toxins. And these are actually caused by the ticks themselves. Like, almost imagine an allergy. You're allergic to what the tick's saliva is. So the first toxin I want to talk about, or I guess the only toxin I want to talk about, is tick paralysis. And the cause of which is a neurotoxin produced in the tick's salivary gland. The vector in the United States is Dermacentor andersoni, the Rocky Mountain wood tick, and D. variabilis, the American dog tick or wood tick, as well as Ixodes holocyclus, which is the Australian paralysis tick. It primarily occurs in the eastern and west coast of the United States, as well as eastern Australia, and symptoms include weakness that progress into paralysis, numbness, and respiratory failure. The treatment is pretty simple in this case. Remove the tick. And I will get into that shortly, so stay tuned. There is one other issue that you might run across if you get bitten by a tick, and that is an allergy, such as the alpha-gal syndrome. What it essentially does is it causes a hypersensitive reaction. Hypersensitive, is that even a word? It causes hypersensitivity. It causes a hypersensitivity reaction to the alpha-gal sugar molecule introduced by ticks while feeding on a human host. So once again, this is like from the tick itself, not necessarily a bacteria that was along for the ride. The vector here is the Lone Star tick in the United States, the European castor bean tick, the paralysis tick, which imagine somebody actually named this the paralysis ticks to separate it from all the other ticks out there. That's wild. Among others. And this actually occurs worldwide. I've been recording for a while now, man. Like I'm tongue twisting out here. Shout out Twister. This is a worldwide issue. And the symptom is an allergy that's developed to red meat and other mammalian derived products after past exposure to tick bites. You can get itching, hives, anaphylaxis, and nausea. So imagine that a tick bites you and now you're not allowed to eat no more chicken. You can't eat no more beef, steaks off the menu, no more pork chops. You shouldn't be eating pork chops anyway, say no to bacon. It's not healthy for you. You can get like a desensitization thing going on where it's like allergen immunotherapy. Exposure in gradually increasing doses to change the immune system's response. And if that happens to you, I sincerely hope you're able to eat a steak again. If not, I'll eat your steak for you. Now, there are some mitigation strategies you can take to avoid getting bitten by ticks. And just given the whole list of what kind of issues ticks can cause, I highly recommend you follow these. So you can wear light colored long sleeve shirts and pants when you're outdoors. You can tuck your shirt into your pants and your pants into your socks. That might look a little crazy, but I still want to eat my steak. And all that like hemorrhaging and stuff that they were talking about all over your body, like, I ain't trying to deal with that. I'll just look super nerdy. I look nerdy anyway. What's up? It's also recommended you wear closed toe shoes, so boots for example, not open toe sandals, not slides, none of that. Use bug spray with DEET or icaridin. Walk on cleared paths and perform a full body check after returning from the outdoors. This is a little secret right here, but put your clothes in the dryer for high heat for a minimum of 10 minutes and it'll just kill off all the ticks that's on that. Now, in the unfortunate situation that you are bitten, tell your family you love them. No, I'm playing. If you are bitten by a tick, use clean tweezers to immediately remove the attached tick. You grab the tick head close to the skin and slowly pull straight out. And then wash that area with soap or alcohol and keep the tick in a closed container to show the doctor after if you happen to feel unwell. And this is really important because it allows the doctor or whoever's looking at the tick to identify the type of tick and therefore narrow down the type of issues you might be experiencing. This video went a lot longer than I thought it would, not gonna lie. It's not as well put together as I would have liked, but hopefully you still understood the message I'm trying to share. Be careful, avoid ticks, and subscribe to the channel, you know I got you.